Who's wrong and who's wronger? In this corner, followed by millions, James the Exploding Unicorn Breakwell. And in that corner, ignored by millions, Steve Da Shrinko Leavers.
By the power of Greystone, we are back, baby. By fits and starts this morning, but back nonetheless. I've got the Exploding Unicorn, James Breakwell. So delighted to be with me. Marginally tolerable today because it's been a good 5 or so weeks, but James, you're looking bright, spry, chipper, and bushy-tailed. How are you really doing today?
I think the important question is, how are you? Are you overwhelmed with joy and awe to be in my virtual presence again? Do you feel yourself shaking with emotion? Are you just holding back the tears? Please describe the physical sensations you are feeling to hear my voice.
I'm actually getting the vapors right now. I'm swooning just a little bit, and I'm starting to schwitz. I mean, I can tell. I've got the air conditioner cranked, and yet I'm glistening with perspiration in your presence, James.
I had to keep up with your life, to keep up with your many, many disasters during the gap, I had to actually occasionally look at your Twitter account. And I felt like a commoner, like I was on the outside looking in, that suddenly I no longer had a front view seat to all the disasters in your life. And I feel like this episode should just be 25 minutes of you talking about how everything you ever touch is awful. But I'm just going to open up the floor to you to take us where we need to go, to the peak, to the pinnacle disaster while we were apart.
Well, I will say, James, and I know you have no way of relating to this, but I have been grinding away, working for the man for about 5 weeks now, and I don't know how people do it. It's oppressive, James. Do you have any means of understanding what I'm talking about?
As someone who has never worked a day in his life, no, of course not. I live a life of leisure and ease.
Yeah, leisure.
Yes, mostly just hanging out on my, on my yacht, bought for me by my parents. As you can all tell by my extravagant lifestyle here in the middle of Indiana, it's a dry docked yacht. It just sits in a cornfield, but it's
Sure.
special. No, I've had a day job pretty much since I was 16. So yes, you have now joined the ranks of misery where the rest of us have dwelled this entire time. And I love that after just a few weeks, it's close to breaking you. This is what it feels like to be one of the regular slubs in the world.
Yeah, James, I'm wearing a lanyard with a code key so I can get into the building.
Wow.
It's ridiculous. I don't think this is a fate that should befall anyone, and yet here I am. So I'm a little bit beside myself. I don't even know what's happening on the ranch, James, because I'm never there.
Man.
I'm always just nose to the grindstone. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think we all know that my own specialness was always a facade. I have been a nose to the grindstone day job guy for forever, with a weird internet writing thing going on the side. But my internet life was semi-impressive if you stood way back and didn't know any of the actual details, including the peak of that was when I got my own Wikipedia page. And I only got it because I believe we talked about it like 500 episodes ago on here, and someone took pity on me and went out and made one. But let me tell you something, Steve. A tragedy has befallen my page.
Oh no! What happened?
They knocked me down some pegs, like 15 pegs. It was pretty devastating. Now, before my old profile, it was like 4 lines, and it listed like half of my books, and that was it. It was not an extravagant page, other than showing that my internet persona exists. It didn't really do much to fluff my ego too much. Well, they went on it pretty hard. So first of all, they took down my profile picture. It's gone. So I am no longer even.
Oh no!
I'm no longer even worthy of like a picture. So that's like a step down. Like I'm in the basement of Wikipedia pages already. Then I looked at the notes, like the red flags that Wikipedia puts on there or that other users put on there. There's no links to anything else. Like there's no outgoing links to anything else in Wikipedia. I am completely disconnected and unimportant in the world. But the worst part was this, it knocked down, there's like 2 sentences about me, and then it's just a list of books, which is fine, because I mean, honestly, I don't even deserve the 2 sentences. But the worst part...
Oh, you are nothing if not humble.
Yes,
That's right.
yes. I mean, I probably deserve like a sentence, like fragment at most. But there was, I checked the notes, and one of them accused the article of Wikipuffery.
What is that?
Wikipuffery, Steve. That I was building up my own accomplishments. I didn't build or edit this page, but that my non-existent accomplishments on this page were obviously exaggerated, and even that much could not be attributed to me. Wikipuffery, Steve. I think this is a new low.
Wow.
Yeah. I didn't. They made up a word just to insult me and tear down my ego a little more. So all those times you pointed out how I was not a celebrity, Wikipedia agrees with you so hard. They probably were listening to you and went and invented a word and stripped down my profile. And now here I am back with you, 2 guys with day jobs talking on the internet.
James, your giant poster is hanging Wall of Fame adjacent in my office.
Wait, did it make it to the new office? The office that you don't own but that somebody else owns?
Well, no.
Oh.
I still have my old office until October because I said the lease runs out. So,
Man.
I don't know if I'm going to take that poster down when I move out. I will just leave it as a sight to behold for the new tenant.
I spent actual money on that poster, Steve, and I know you know how that hurts me. So I would be devastated if you left it behind. I think you should take it and hang it in your own home, perhaps over the fireplace, so that as you sit there at night sipping cognac and holding your rat that you think is a dog, you can think of me, the most unimportant man on Wikipedia.
Oh, James, like I can afford cognac. I don't even have a fireplace in my log cabin. It's such a sad state of affairs out on Rattlesnake Ranch.
Isn't that...
But you not only had to spend money, but you had to fight through a wall of Judy.
Oh.
Super fan. Judy was, she was holding the fort as the gatekeeper to my address when you sent that. But I do remember coming home one day and having it sitting on the kitchen table waiting for me. That was a day that I'd like to take out of my life's memory. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind style. But I will say, while I will not be sipping cognac, this is one of the most ham-handed segues in the history of podcasts, even though neither of us is a celebrity. But I do have a book that comes out today, as we record this on Thursday, James, called MTV Famous. And so I'm very excited about that. You were on a brief hiatus from this show because you just finished a book. You've got a second edition of something coming out that I think you will be excited to announce. But please go to Amazon.com and look me up, MTV Famous. It's only out in hardcover right now, but it's good. And it's endorsed. James, I know these names mean nothing to you, but I have actual quotes endorsing this on the cover by Bret Michaels of Poison, Dee Snider of Twisted Sister, and this one, I got to sit down and get a tissue because I still get emotional over this. One of the guys in Kiss, Ace Frehley, has a quote on a book that I wrote. James, the world is exploding all around me. So cognac might not be in the cards, but cheap bottom shelf rum and a cigar tonight will be on the menu at Rattlesnake Ranch.
Which musician is this book actually about? You didn't actually say what the book is about.
Oh, Jesus.
You need to get better at this shameless self-promotion thing. I have been on here selling literally single-digit quantities of books through the medium of podcasts. You can take it from me, somebody who's very experienced at this. You need to give a little more detail.
Yeah, sorry. The artist name is Pete Evick, and he had his own group called Evic, and he is now Bret Michaels' right-hand man in the Bret Michaels Band, his co-writer on all the songs they're putting out. And they're about today, in fact, in Detroit. I don't know when this podcast will drop, probably tonight. But they're starting the Party Gras tour with Night Ranger and Jefferson Starship, Mark McGrath from Sugar Ray, which is kind of in your genre, James Breakwell. And a dude named Steve Augeri, who sang for Journey, sang for Taiketo, and now he is out solo. But I'll be going up to Chicago on my birthday and sitting around backstage with a glass of cognac, hanging with all those guys. I can't be more excited, James. Pete Evick and Steve Olivas, MTV famous.
So, for 2 points. First of all, my genre of music is just bad music in general. Like, I always, when they do those algorithms on, like, the streaming services, they can't figure out what I like. They're just like, oh, so we see that you like terrible songs. Here, take this other random thing. And more often than not that I like it. The algorithm has quantified my lack of taste. So please don't insult these artists by attributing them with me. Second of all, I am alarmed and impressed by the rate at which you turn out books. So I just finished the sequel to The Chosen 12. It was due June 30th. I had 10 months to write it. I put it off pretty much till the end. Had to pull not an all-nighter, but an all-monther to finish it. Turned it in on June 29th, one day before the deadline. But you write like 16 books a year, which I don't know, but while sitting in a bathroom typing on a card table. So how many books do you actually write a year?
It depends. I just started one last week, and I'm 14,000 words in. I've got another one lined up after that, and then a guy from a radio station here just reached out to me and said, I got a friend who was in The Mothers of Invention with Frank Zappa that needs a book. And so I said, I'll get in touch with him. Then another artist reached out. I'll tell you what, man, this thing is gaining momentum, and it's super exciting. And I know I tell you more behind the scenes than we talk about on this podcast, but I really am psyched about where all this is headed. The book I'm working on currently is my 11th book, and I've got 4 out now. I don't know if I'm going to get 2 more out this year. There's a holdup called I need the artist to work on their end of the book, and that never goes as quickly as I would like. But it's starting to turn into fireworks for me. That was point 1. Point 2 is you've at least heard of the band Sugar Ray, haven't you?
Yes, I have heard of Sugar Ray and have no less than one of their songs on my terrible song playlist.
Okay, good. I was going to get quite upset if you'd never heard of Sugar Ray because you didn't cop to it after I said it was in your genre.
I think, heard of almost all of the bands you shamelessly name-dropped today. I can't tell you anything about them, but I do know that they exist and that you are more likely than not making them up.
Well, your sequel coming out, you're one of the busiest guys that I know. You just don't happen to write on a card table in a bathroom because you have a regal Victorian manner in which you live.
Yes, clearly that is the case, but I write in that wedged over here in a corner beside a staircase, and when the kids wake up, I have to yell at them to be quiet lest their loud elephant-like footsteps disrupt the pristine quality of our podcast. I do have another book coming out at the end of this month, July 25th. You Can't Be a Pterodactyl, my first children's picture book. I wrote this thing. I went back and looked because this is the first one I've had coming out with a Big Five publisher. It's coming out with an imprint of it's Nancy Paulson's imprint with Penguin Random House, and I wrote this book and sold it to her in 2019. And it's coming out now. It has been in the gears of the publishing industry for a long, long time. But now I have a couple boxes of it here in the house. It's going to be hitting bookstores, and now I am in shameless self-promotion mode. So I finished the manuscript for The Chosen 12 too. But that has to go through the editorial process, and no sooner had I kicked that out the door than I had to shift into shamelessly promoting this book, this wonderful, lovely, perfect children's book that I barely remember writing from a million years ago.
That's interesting. And Big Five, what he means by that is that the entire publishing industry globally is kind of controlled by 5 publishing houses. And the goal of everyone is to break into one of those. And James, Penguin, that's stupid, man. Awesome.
I mean, it was probably stupid of them to work with me. Yes, I would concur with that. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what this book does. It might be the only children's book I ever get published. But hey, it's here. It exists, and it's really, really hard to get a children's book published because it turns out any idiot can write a 700-word story. I mean, I'm Exhibit A. There's just if you think there's a lot of regular novel-length books, like if they tell people you can make just as much money for writing a fraction of the number of words, like everybody wants to get on that train. But my words, of course, my 700 words are perfection, and you should definitely read it. Just Google "You Can't Be a Pterodactyl" or go to explodingunicorn.com and click on there. And this book will definitely bring you far more enjoyment than anything you would see that might be famous on MTV, which I believe doesn't even exist anymore. Like, everyone has a place in their heart for pterodactyls. Who even knows what MTV is these days?
What?
I think it went off the air. I think the channel no longer exists.
Ooh.
Did I just blow your mind? Did you just write a book called MTV Famous and you didn't check to see if MTV was still around?
I will bet you $1
Ooh.
that channel still exists.
Ooh.
I have nothing to back up that brash bravado, but I will lay $1 on the line that MTV. Damn.
I think you know what? I'm going to take that
Yeah.
bet because I think the only reason I just hear random things, random places, and I think MTV no longer exists. Okay, so we have $1 at stake, one actual U.S. dollar, aside from the many hundreds of dollars I owe you in podcasting fees that I have yet to pay. let's just double down here. Let's see here. I'm going to literally Google, does MTV still exist? Ooh, looks like I owe you $1. MTV is still around and still airing videos. They play them during the wee hours and viewership is down. Oh, wait, there's another thing. It says, why is MTV going off the air? MTV News is shutting down as Paramount Media Networks moves to slash... Okay. I guess, I think it still exists, but it is not in the same form it once was. There's nothing on here to say it shut down. I made up things. For the first time in the history of this podcast, we got a fact wrong. Or I got a fact wrong. Everything else we've ever said is, of course, completely correct.
Wait a minute. I will preface what I'm about to say by saying James Breakwell is not a mower. Like, he pays up when he loses it. That's a sheep's head term.
Okay.
But you're from the Midwest. You actually know what sheep's head is.
I've played it. It's a stupid game. It's a worse version of euchre.
What?
Yeah, they play it they play it in Wisconsin, the terrible place you're from. I was up there, and the euchre exists. It's the perfect game. And somebody's like, why don't we play Sheep's Head, a less fun, more complicated version?
No.
Which I guess makes sense because you just hate your life and you're just kind of killing the hours until you die. So yeah, why not play Sheep's Head? But here in the rest of America, where we enjoy life, we play euchre.
We used to stay up till 2 a.m, 4 guys smoking cigars and playing Sheep's Head all night. But the point is, you and I did make a bet years ago on the air, and you actually sent me a crisp $1 bill, and I can't remember what the bet was. One of our super fans will probably remember and let us know. But do you happen to remember off the top of your head?
No, I'm just remembering now why I don't make bets. I am terrible at it. Terrible. Man, I wonder where I heard that thing about MTV shutting down. I will say as a counterpoint, I don't know a single person who still gets MTV, but I guess I don't know anybody who has cable anymore.
Well, you missed out because when I was your age, a teenager, it was huge. My God, we used to plan, like when they would have a video premiere, like everyone was in front of their TV that night to make sure they saw it. It was a big deal. But it's now gotten me just a little bit better quality of rum because James Breakwell's going to be footing the bill, and man, I'm going to be running to the mailbox for the next few days.
You know what? I am going to send it to you by PayPal to kill the joy you might have experienced for receiving that physical dollar. What's a stamp now? Like 50 cents?
PayPal's going to take like 4 cents out of that.
No, it's like 50 cents. I'm not gonna pay $1.50 to pay you $1. That doesn't make any sense. I'm gonna pay $1 to pay you $1.
No, I mean, it takes it out of my end. It's going to take like 3 cents or 4 cents. There's a VIG that goes back to the house on a PayPal
I don't think
transaction.
if I mark down that you're family, I don't think it will. I'm gonna lie and say you're my long lost creepy uncle, and you are gonna get 100% of that dollar.
I almost felt like friends and family of Breakwell, FOB. But now I find out I'm the guy that's no longer invited to Thanksgiving dinner in the Breakwell house.
You write books in the bathroom, Steve. Where'd you think this was going?
I absolutely do.
Yeah, I don't know why you don't just go to, you have an entire separate structure. That building out there, your second cabin, is the ultimate writer's retreat. Like, people pay money to abandon their families for a week and go to places like that to write. You could put a desk on the wall, put up all your celebrity pictures, and then once every 9 years when somebody visits you, you can just step out of the cabin for the day and let them have it. You have a writer's retreat on property, and yet you insist on writing in the bathroom.
Well, my son is living in that structure until fall when he goes off to college. So right now, I would be encroaching upon his personal space.
I thought, and again, this kills me that I know this.
Yeah.
I thought your wife and son had disappeared for multiple days for college-related pursuits because, as you, a man on the grind who writes 11 books a year and has a day job, you somehow were feeding yourself with Uncrustables, which my kids sometimes eat at school.
I love Uncrustables. You got to add more jelly, though. But yes, love them.
Can you not follow the steps to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich on your own? Is that beyond your culinary skills?
Listen, I'm not Julia Childs over here, James. If it's not prepared for me or microwavable, I don't trust myself. I will die of some poison-related ailment unless I can pull an Uncrustable out of the freezer and then still frozen, devour it with ladles of grape jelly pasted on top.
So you're already adding the jelly. You take the item and you add jelly. So I'm confused on the steps this saves you, especially since you probably have to defrost it or microwave it, which actually takes more steps than just making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich from scratch.
What do you have against Uncrustables? I got a lot of hate online for the Uncrustables, so you're not alone in this assessment. But I don't understand the vitriol, James. Please.
You're paying a premium to do more work. It's like the people who slap tap water in a can and sell it, and you're taking bread, one of the cheapest items at the store, and peanut butter and jelly, two of the other cheapest ones, and instead of doing that, instead of just combining the ingredients yourself in the ratio you prefer, you are letting some factory slap these things together, cut off the crust, and jack up the price 1,000 times for an inferior product that actually takes you more work. Where is the upside?
First of all of you assume that I have any idea what anything costs. And that to me is cute. It really is. I don't know. These things show up in my freezer and I like them, so I eat them. And that's the story of my life. Mrs. Steve, if you've ever seen Smokey and the Bandit, I'm just driving the truck. I'm Jerry Reed. And then Mrs. Steve is Burt Reynolds, probably closer to Sally Field. But just keeping everything out of my way so that I can keep driving the truck. And one of the things that's necessary to keep my truck drive smooth are a box of Uncrustables every once in a while.
To me, this is the equivalent of like leaving a bowl of kibble out for the dog when you leave for the day. You can't open the bag yourself, so she's got to pour it out. You can't. I don't know, adding the jelly is what blows my mind. If you thought this was a finished product as is, I might allow it. But the fact that you were taking the steps you would need to anyway to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, well, it profoundly upsets me. And after this episode, when somebody inevitably goes and makes a Wikipuffery page for you, I hope they will include a fact about this, your lack of culinary skills and your lack of basic home economic sense.
God, I've got to wiki you now. I got to do that search because your page was bloated to like 2 paragraphs back when I
Whoa.
first saw it.
Let me-
So I don't know who went through with a hatchet and made sure to knock you down to size, but wow.
Yeah,
I think I told you I had a Wikipedia page for one day. One of my Twitter people made it and it got taken down. So you want to talk about soul crushing. You've still got your name in lights.
Who took it down? Like, there's no like central authority. It's all random users. What random user went through and was like, no, this person in particular needs to be culled from the annals of Wikipedia?
I have no idea. But they sent me the link and I saw it and I felt my chest swell with pride. And then like 2 days later, I went to show somebody and it was gone. And I deflated to half the size I was.
I bet if you would give them a few breadcrumbs, you could actually have a justified page. First of all, you've published 97,000 books. So that's a real thing that you checked on Amazon. Second of all, you at one time had an actual radio show, which if there is any like corresponding link on the internet to prove you hosted that radio show, I think Wikipedia might acknowledge you exist.
I don't know if a link exists. That was back in 2001, maybe 2000.
We all know.
So it's been a minute.
That was before the internet and also possibly before written records. Like that's back when they would occasionally, take things down on cuneiform tablets. So who knows what's back then, but try to find that link and just gently nudge someone along, one of our 6 listeners, to see if they can make that page. And maybe you will be blessed with 3 lines rather than 2, and maybe you'll get the ultimate achievement of having a picture on there. And then I'm going to go through and accuse you of Wikipuffery.
Well, I'll tell you what's not inflated, and that's our viewer and listener count for this show. We are sitting strong at 3, and by the power of Greystone, we'll improve to 4 or 5 someday. Maybe all of this free publicity with Breakwell's Wikipedia presence will draw more listeners. We got to add this podcast to that listing, though. But in the meantime, we got to let you go. We've had all of this back build-up of tension, like magma under Mount St. Helens, waiting to explode while Breakwell's been busy writing. And there it was. It was fabulous. I've got it all over myself.
Oh.
But until we meet again, until we come face to phone and you have to experience a little piece of our lives that's probably not anywhere near as interesting as the rest of your day, but you feel golden handcuffs to keep coming back because we're so delightful. This is Steve Olivas, Dr. Steve for James the Exploding Unicorn, and now published children's author Breakwell, saying thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and remember, as always, 2 wrongs can make a right.